back to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Joe Royland. Sorry for the absences in the last couple of weeks. Just crazy busy, for one, and just haven't had time to do a show. And for two, it's that kind of time of year where there just hasn't been a lot musically coming out that's just been catching my ears, or just not in general at all. There's one record that I'm going to do in an upcoming show, but my local record store didn't have it. I had to order it because I wanted to get the vinyl version of it. But thankfully, thanks to a viewer suggestion from Brian Chalot of the band Mercy Lago, who we did a show on back in episode 73, he said to me, hey, if you haven't checked out the album by these guys, you might want to give it a shot. It's pretty good. And so I took him up on it. And it begs the question, what do you do if you're a member of a premier rock band like Aerosmith, and you feel like going out and rocking, but the other members of your band are off doing other things? You got Steven Tyler's off making a country record. Joe Perry's off playing with Alice Cooper and Johnny Depp in Hollywood Vampires. Well, if you're Brad Whitford, you get back together with one of your former musical cohorts, in this case, singer-guitarist Derek St. Holmes. You go out and make a new album and go on tour behind it. Now, the two first hooked up way back in 1980, when Brad Whitford had just left Aerosmith after the making of the Night in the Ruts album and the tour that kind of followed it, which was kind of truncated because of Steven Tyler's drug problems and Joe Perry's drug problems. Brad got kind of sick of it and said, I'm going to go off and do something else. And he joined up with former Ted Nugent singer-guitarist Derek St. Holmes. And Derek was the voice of many of the early Ted Nugent solo albums. And you can hear him on tracks like Stranglehold and Hey Baby, the latter of which he also wrote and arranged for Ted's self-titled debut album, and two of my favorite songs from the Nugent catalog too, by the way. And they formed Whitford St. Holmes, releasing their first self-titled debut album back in 1981, which, while a great little rock record, wasn't exactly a huge success. They went out and toured behind it back then, but it didn't really take off. And Brad eventually found his way back to Joe Perry, playing with Joe Perry Project, and the two eventually got back to Aerosmith just in time for the 1985 reunion album, Done with Mirrors. But it's a reunion of a different kind we're talking about in the new album, Reunion, Whitford St. Holmes. Now, it's a 9-track little record, which, if you're a fan of old school boogie rock, and even if you're familiar with the original record, you're probably going to dig this album. Aside from scorching tracks like the album's opener Shades, which features a bit of a lyrical nod to the Yardbirds shape of things. Of course, big fans of the Yardbirds themselves and Aerosmith and Derek St. Holmes as well. And also Rock All Day, which you're hearing right now, which has a hint of Aerosmith's Cheesecake in its melody. You can probably hear it if you're familiar with that tune. And Cheesecake's one of my favorite Aerosmith songs. Night in the Ruts, the album came off of one of my favorite Aerosmith albums of all time too. But aside from that, there's also some other flavors to the album too. Tender is the Night sounds like it could have come off an early Rod Stewart album with its kind of countrified ballad feel to it. It's great. Catch My Fall has got a bit more of a poppy commercial sheen to it, but it's still a favorite of mine off the album. But otherwise, it's foot stomping stuff like Gotta Keep Moving and Hell Is on Fire, which keep this album moving. And the album's closer, Flood of Lies, I really like a lot too, vocally at least. Derek St. Holmes on it reminds me a little bit of Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. Music a little bit too, so if you're a Big Wreck fan, you might like this record. We've reviewed them on the show a couple times too. But all in all together, a nice little record from Whitford St. Holmes, Reunion, which is out now. They are currently out on the road supporting Whitesnake on tour, so if you could double bill right there if you want to go out and see them. I didn't make it to see them when they came through town here, but accounts from people who did said it was a great show and they really liked the band. And for around $10, you really can't do too wrong, especially considering that the CD comes with a bonus remastered version of the band's original Whitford St. Holmes album. So 2 CDs, right about $10. 2 great records, can't go too wrong. And that is the show for this week. Whitford St. Holmes Reunion album, great stuff. Go and check it out, and we will catch you next time, or I'll have something new for you. Hopefully it won't take as long as this one did to get out, but thanks a lot. And thanks again to Brian Chalot from Mercy Lago for suggesting this record to me. And that's it. We'll talk to you later.